On Thursday, January 26th, the Stoneham Coalition welcomes Scott Gagnon from the New England Prevention Technology Training Center for a 1 hour Zoom workshop on preventing underage cannabis use in the era of not just legalization, but also, yes, commercialization. How do you keep kids away from cannabis use when it's so prevalent in our society and there are so many different ways to consume it? So we asked Scott to come on and tell us a little bit about what the presentation is going to be about. And after hearing, you might want to go to our website, www.stonehamcoalition.org, and sign up to get the Zoom link for 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 26th. Welcome, Scott Gagnon. Thank you for joining me today to talk about your presentation on Thursday night about the cannabis use in today's era of commercialization. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start off by talking about why a presentation like this is important nowadays, with legalization of marijuana and the increased use of marijuana in a medical capacity. What are some of the challenges that particularly parents are facing today with commercialization?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of them, but I think really the overarching thing is that just the cannabis today is very different than it was 30 or 40 years ago. So, or really even just 20 years ago. So I think often parents who are or adults or anyone who's not hasn't really been paying attention to cannabis and probably still thinks of it like it was so long ago, but it really is a very, very different drug. And so, it's really important for us to take it seriously, especially as it becomes commercialized and it's going to be more widespread. It's going to be more advertised in lots of different places. And so I think, just having at least a basic understanding of what the drug looks like today is very important because it does look very different, not just the chemical composition and the potency, but just the very many different types of products that can be made. I mean, when we think of challenges with like alcohol and tobacco and nicotine, like there's a fairly limited number of products you can make with those two chemicals, but with THC you can put it in just about anything you can think of that you can consume. So it just creates a lot of challenges. So I think it's more important than ever for really anyone with kids or works with kids to or young adults for that matter, to have an understanding of what the drug looks like.
Mm-hmm. And so what exactly will you be going over Thursday night in your presentation?
Yeah, so in my presentation, I hope to give exactly that, an overview of what cannabis looks like now. So the literal different types of products that can be available in dispensaries, in other types of outlets. Everything from the smokable forms, the vaping forms, and especially the edibles. I mean, edibles is where you see a lot of novice users, people who've never used cannabis before. And that's honestly where the industry sees the appeal for novice users is edibles.
Mm-hmm.
So really going over those different types of forms, what we know so far in terms of some of the health impacts, both in terms of physical health and mental health, looking at impact on child development, which is really important. And then also, just looking at what does the industry look like. It's not what we maybe used to think of. It's not it's not as cliched as it used to be, right? It's really slick with advertising and just sort of look and feel. So that's basically what I hope to go over during the presentation.
Yeah. Now, when you say edibles, I mean, sort of describe that as like candy in the form of marijuana in the form of candy, things like that.
Yeah, with edibles, really honestly, it's anything you can think of. I mean, the sort of the candy bakery kind of products, cookies and brownies, and gummies. Those are clearly some of the most popular ones. Just because I mean they appeal to a wide demographic. But especially with the candies and the cookies and things, that's where we get into concerns about youth because states will try to put restrictions on things like labeling and packaging to make sure they don't appeal
Mm-hmm.
to young people. But the reality is you have some gummies on a counter. It doesn't matter if there's cartoon characters on it or not. Those are just by their nature going to appeal to young children,
Yeah.
or young adults as well. So yeah, but even like anything that's really oil based, like I've even seen restaurants in some states have THC infused meals, where everything from the pasta to the bread to like even some CBD or THC infused wine to go to pair with your dinner. So it is really, really widespread, where it can be really infused.
And so on Thursday, you'll be giving tips for sort of helping to prevent sort of the spread of marijuana use, given today's commercialization.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what I'll cover too, is just to think about what are some of the prevention approaches. What can we do? Can we think about in terms of like policy, in terms of minimizing, again, especially with our young people and our young adults. But even frankly, I think even adults who are of legal age to consume, we really need to pay attention to how do we minimize, harms for those folks as well, because again, especially new users, they probably have no idea what they're getting into, and so consumer education is also going to be important, because frankly, I mean, when we if we can impact adults, we also impact young people, because young people model their behavior after adults. So I think when we think about youth and young adult prevention, I mean, we need to focus specifically on messaging and supporting those age groups, but also adults, because of the impact that they have on
Sure.
those populations.
Right. Now, talk a little bit about your background. How did you get into this work, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been in prevention for 16, 17 years, something like that. The funny thing is that the falling into the world of cannabis policy and prevention was kind of accidental. I was really positioning myself to be like a person in prescription drug misuse prevention, and alcohol. But in Maine, where I live and work, we had an initiative in 2013 in the city of Portland to legalize possession of up to an ounce of cannabis. And part of the campaign involved these ads that went in all the bus stops and for the bus system. The problem is that bus system is used by the kids that go to the high school in the middle of Portland. It's also next to some social um, services, and so that kind of irked me. It's like, this is not, and they were very normalizing, minimizing advertising. And it's like, this is not cool. And so I wrote an op-ed, and then from there, just kind of snowballed into me getting involved in sort of the political sort of advocacy part of things as legalization rolled out in Maine. And so from there, I just kind of merged my background in prevention and my interest in policy. I have a master's in public policy, so I kind of brought those two things together. It's like, okay, here's something I'm going to specialize in for a while, I guess. And then as things rolled out, other states moving forward, having opportunities to meet and work in other states like Massachusetts and Vermont, and here in New England. I just really enjoy being able to share what I've learned and just my 2 cents and my lens on things, and hopefully it's helpful for states and communities, just to help them think about what they need to think about as this rolls out, because it is a big. I mean, the cannabis industry is a big, well-funded machine, and in prevention, we're certainly a David to that Goliath. But I think working together and with combined efforts, we can make impact, and so I hope to just continue to be a small part of that.
Well, I thank you very much for your time today, and we thank you for everything that you've done on behalf of the Stoneham Coalition and all your efforts to curb youth marijuana use. Scott Gagnon, thank you very much, and we look forward to your presentation virtually via Zoom on Thursday, the January the 26th at 7 p.m. If you go to the Stoneham Coalition website, stonehamcoalition.org, you can sign up directly from there, and you'll be given the Zoom link to hear all of Scott's great information. So again, thank you for joining me.
All right, thank you. Looking forward to next week, or later this week, I mean.
Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday night.